Hello and welcome back to this new edition of News Today. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. As per a report, China has completed a 400-meter bridge near Pangong Lake. Several people died in massive landslides in Wayanad, Kerala. RBI issues direction on treatment of willful defaulters and large defaulters. SEBI releases consultation paper on measures to strengthen index derivatives framework. Atomic Energy Regulatory Board grants permission for first approach to criticality of 500 megawatt PFBR. FAO releases integrated fire management voluntary guidelines updates. Starting with the first news, China has completed a 400-meter bridge near Pangong Lake, a region held by China for the past 60 years. This bridge, located near the line of actual control in Ladakh, allows Chinese troops to move quickly between the north and south banks of Pangong Lake. In response, India is building the 4.1-kilometer Shrinkula tunnel to ensure all-weather connectivity between Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh. The border between India and China is not clearly defined. India sees the LAC as 3,488 kilometers long, while China considers it to be around 2,000 kilometers. The LAC is divided into three sectors: the western sector in Ladakh, the middle sector in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and the eastern sector in Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. In the western sector, India regards the Johnson Line from 1865 as the border, while China claims the McDonald Line from 1899 as the true border. The middle sector is largely undisputed. In the eastern sector, China claims all of Arunachal Pradesh as part of the Tibetan Autonomous Region. The alignment of the LAC follows the McMahon Line drawn during the 1914 Shimla Convention, which China has rejected. This complex and contested border situation continues to shape the strategic infrastructure developments and military readiness of both nations.
Ahead in the news, let's dive into a tragic story from Wayanad, Kerala, where several people have lost their lives due to massive landslides triggered by extremely heavy rainfall. The district, situated in the Western Ghats, experienced a series of devastating landslides, highlighting the vulnerability of this region. The Western Ghats is the second most vulnerable region to landslides in India, following the Himalayas. The region's high soil depth and steep slopes contribute to frequent landslides, especially during the monsoon season. High soil depth allows for more water retention, increasing pore water pressure, which ultimately leads to landslides. So what exactly are landslides? Landslides occur when gravity forces pushing on hill slopes material exceed the friction forces holding the material in place, causing slope failure. According to the Geological Survey of India, approximately 0.42 million square kilometers or 12.6% of India's land area, excluding snow-covered regions, is prone to landslide hazards. There are various causes of landslides. Natural causes include undercutting of slopes due to flooding or excavation, earthquakes and snowmelt. Human activities such as overgrazing by cattle, soil erosion due to deforestation, and terrain cutting and filling also contribute to landslides. The effects can be catastrophic, including floods due to the diversion of river courses or channel blockages and disruption of traffic and communication lines. Monitoring and preventing landslides pose significant challenges. Unlike other disasters, which are largely controlled by macro or regional factors, landslides are influenced by highly localized factors. This makes gathering information and monitoring potential landslide sites not only difficult but also cost-intensive. In response to these challenges, several key initiatives have been launched. The National Landslide Risk Management Strategy, introduced in 2019 by the National Disaster Management Authority or NDMA, aims to address and mitigate landslide risks. The National Landslide Susceptibility Mapping Program by GSI has completed extensive landslide susceptibility mapping. Additionally, IIT Delhi has created the first high-resolution Indian landslide susceptibility map. Recently, the National Landslide Forecasting Centre or NLFC was launched in Kolkata. The centre aims to operationalize the regional landslide early warning system nationwide by 2030, providing critical early warnings and helping to save lives.
The Reserve Bank of India has issued new directions on the treatment of willful defaulters and large defaulters. These directions, issued under the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934, the Banking Regulation Act 1949, and the Credit Information Companies Regulation Act 2005, aim to ensure a fair and transparent process for classifying borrowers as willful defaulters by lenders. As of March 2023, a staggering 16,883 accounts with a total borrowing of Rs 3.5 lakh crore had been classified as willful defaulters. Let's dive into the key provisions of this direction. First, we have the definition of a willful defaulter. This term applies to defaults where the outstanding amount is Rs 25 lakh and above. Willful default happens when a borrower fails to meet payment or repayment obligations despite having the capacity to pay. It also includes cases where funds are diverted or siphoned off, assets provided for securing credit are disposed of, or there is a failure to infuse equity despite the ability to do so. Next, we move to large defaulters, defined as those with an outstanding amount of Rs 1 crore and above, and whose account has been classified as doubtful or loss, or where a suit has been filed. For identifying these defaulters, lenders must establish an identification committee to examine evidence of the willful default. Once identified, several measures can be taken against these defaulters. One major measure is the initiation of criminal proceedings by the lenders. On the penal side, no additional credit facilities will be provided by any lender to the willful defaulter or their associated entities. They will also not be eligible for any new credit facilities for new ventures or for restructuring of existing credit facilities. Preventive measures include proper credit appraisal and monitoring the end use of funds to avoid any potential defaults. In conclusion, these directions by the RBI are a significant step towards ensuring accountability and transparency in the banking sector, aiming to curb the rise of willful and large defaulters.
Moving ahead, the Securities and Exchange Board of India has released a consultation paper outlining new measures to strengthen the index derivatives framework. This initiative aims to enhance investor protection, promote market stability in derivative markets, and ensure sustained capital formation. If we talk about index derivatives, then they are financial contracts that derive their value from an underlying asset, such as a commodity, security, currency, or index. The most common types of derivatives are futures and options. Before we move ahead, let us first understand about futures and options. A futures contract is a contract wherein the buyer has the right to buy or sell predefined quantities of an instrument at a specified price and time. Examples include stock futures, index futures, currency, and interest futures. On the other hand, an options contract offers the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell a security at an agreed upon price during a certain period or on a specific date. Call options and put options are the major types of option contracts. Coming back, let us now talk about the need for strengthening the index derivatives framework as it arises from concerns over excessive speculative trading. It is estimated that Rs 50,000 to 60,000 crore of household savings have been lost through derivatives trading. Furthermore, there has been a significant increase in retail participation in equity derivatives, with index options rising from 2% of individual trades in financial year 2018 to 41% in financial year 2024. To address these issues, SEBI has proposed several key changes. One of the primary changes is increasing the minimum contract value. Currently, the contract size is Rs 5 lakh, but the proposal suggests raising it to Rs 10 lakh initially, with gradual increases up to Rs 30 lakh over 6 months. Additionally, SEBI proposes limiting strike prices to 50 strikes for an index derivatives contract at launch. This move aims to prevent the scattering of trading activity and liquidity. The strike price is the predetermined price at which the buyer and seller of an option agree on a contract or exercise a valid and unexpired option. Furthermore, SEBI recommends that members collect options premiums upfront from clients to ensure that investors have sufficient funds to cover their positions.
In our next news, the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board or AERB has granted permission for the first approach to criticality of the 500 megawatt prototype fast breeder reactor or PFBR at Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu. This PFBR is India's first indigenous fast breeder reactor commissioned by the Bharatiya Nabhikya Vidyut Nigam Limited under the Department of Atomic Energy. So what does the first approach to criticality mean? Criticality refers to the initial process of bringing a reactor to a self-sustaining chain reaction for the first time. When the core loading is complete, we reach this criticality. Core loading involves placing nuclear fuel assemblies inside the core of a nuclear reactor. Now let's talk about what a fast breeder reactor or FBR is. An FBR uses fast neutrons to generate more nuclear fuel than it consumes while generating power. This PFBR will use uranium-plutonium mixed oxide fuel. The uranium-238 blanket surrounding the fuel core will undergo nuclear transmutation, producing more fuel, which is why these reactors are called breeders. The operationalization of the PFBR is significant because it marks the start of Stage 2 of India's 3-stage nuclear power program. Through transmutation, thorium will create fissile uranium-233, which will be used as fuel in the third stage. The Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, established by the President in 1983 under the Atomic Energy Act of 1962, ensures the safe use of ionizing radiation and nuclear energy in India. Its regulatory authority comes from rules and notifications under the Atomic Energy Act and the Environment Protection Act 1986. The mission of the AERB is to ensure that the use of nuclear energy does not pose undue risk to the health of people and the environment. In conclusion, the AERB's permission for the first approach to criticality of the 500 megawatt PFBR is a monumental step for India's nuclear energy program.
Ahead in the news, in a significant update after 2 decades, the Food and Agriculture Organization has released new integrated fire management voluntary guidelines aimed at managing wildfire risk more effectively. These updated guidelines were prepared by the Global Fire Management Hub, which was launched by FAO and UNEP in 2023. The updated guidelines emphasize the importance of maximizing benefits while minimizing wildfire losses through an efficient IFM program. It's crucial to consider the interactions between climate change, vegetation, and fire regimes in fire planning and management. The impacts of fire must be viewed from all stakeholder perspectives, including gender, as wildfires can affect different groups in various ways. Early detection and warning systems should be used to reduce health impacts, with fire danger ratings adapted using reliable weather forecasts. The strategic actions of IFM include taking measures before, during, and after a fire while avoiding the introduction of invasive species through fire suppression and equipment. Planned fires, which involve allowing some fires to burn within defined parameters in fire-dependent ecosystems, are a component of wildfire prevention. Fire awareness programs should respect cultural and social norms, including the use of fire for agriculture, forestry, and traditional purposes. Additionally, collaboration with scientists, indigenous people, and local experts is essential to enhance policies, regulations, and practices. Wildfires are a growing concern globally. Each year, around 340 to 370 million hectares of Earth's surface are burned by wildfires. With climate change leading to hotter, drier, and longer fire seasons, the frequency of extreme wildfires is projected to increase by about 50% by the end of the century. The consequences of wildfires are far-reaching, as they can harm sustainable development, threaten livelihoods, and produce significant greenhouse gas emissions. In conclusion, the updated IFM guidelines by FAO are a crucial step towards better managing and mitigating these risks. The personality news for today is Shaheed Udham Singh. He is in news as today, that is 31st July, the martyrdom day of Shaheed Udham Singh, has been observed. Shaheed Udham Singh was born in Sangrur district of Punjab. He was deeply influenced by the principles of Bhagat Singh. Moreover, he witnessed the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919 and vowed to avenge the same. Talking about his key contributions, he formed Azad Party in Chicago as a part of Ghadar Party. Moreover, on 13th March 1940, he shot Michael O'Dyer, who was the then Lieutenant Governor of Punjab when the Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place. Through his actions, he exemplified the values of courage, perseverance, and more.
As we wrap up today's main news, let's take a moment for some quick updates. RBI excluded all new government securities with 14-year and 30-year tenures from the fully accessible route bonds. Previously, fully accessible route bonds allowed foreign investors unrestricted access to these bonds, but the new measure is expected to redirect inflows towards shorter-term bonds instead. RBI asked UCBs to stop the practice of setting up a dividend equalization fund. Dividend equalization funds are set up by UCBs through appropriation of profits to pay dividends in future years when profits are insufficient or where the bank has posted a net loss. The Ministry for Education launched the National Apprenticeship and Training Scheme 2.0 portal. National Apprenticeship and Training Scheme is one of the flagship programs of Government of India launched under the provisions of Apprentices Act 1961 for skilling Indian youth. Worldwide Fund for Nature report found 4 species of sturgeon among the most endangered fish species globally. Sturgeons are large freshwater and anadromous fishes of north temperate regions. These fishes evolved 250 million years ago in the Jurassic period and are considered genetically living fossils. Men's triathlon in Paris Olympics 2024 postponed due to high levels of pollution in Seine River in Paris. The Seine River is the second longest river of France after Loire. Flights at the airport in Ladakh were cancelled due to high temperature. High temperatures expand the air, making it less dense. Thus, fewer molecules are available underneath the aircraft's wings to create enough lift to push the plane into the sky. The 46th session of the World Heritage Committee or WHC concluded successfully in New Delhi. WHC is responsible for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention of UNESCO. Also, it defines the use of World Heritage Fund. It has the final say on whether a property is inscribed on the World Heritage List. Terracotta pipelines unearthed at the Kilidi in Sevaganga district. It proves the knowledge that prevailed in the water management system and could be said the alignment was a key feature in the water management system. Kilidi is a Sangam age site located on the river Vaigai near Temple City, Madurai. Before we conclude today's bulletin, let's test your knowledge in our segment Test Your Learning. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this edition of News Today. For the quiz solutions and to download the PDF version of News Today, please visit the provided links in the description below.